The focus of this chapter will be the expansive realm of Islam. One of the most, and as you know, Islam will, and if you know anything about history, Islam will play a major role in the course of human affairs. So, in terms of a little context for a little bit of context of when Islam rose to prominence, we have to remember that this is the post-classical era where all the major classical empires have, well, almost all the major classical empires have fallen, with the exception of the Byzantine Empire. As a result, the Silk Road routes become increasingly more dangerous because now there are no more big empires to keep them safe. As a result, in order to not get killed by bandits, more and more people are resorting to sea routes, particularly in the Indian Ocean Basin. As a result, Arabia thus becomes more strategic. It is also helped by the fact that it's really hard to sail up the Red Sea, so you end up having to dock in Arabia to trade your goods. Also, camel saddles were invented in early CE. In the early CE Common Era. Therefore, you could actually ride camels across long distances through Arabia. Also, in addition, Arabia is well connected to Christian/Jewish Levant, now Palestine and Syria. And this can really help the fact that you can and this will allow for for Islam to be influenced by already existing Christian and Jewish communities. Furthermore, the Byzantine and the Sassanid empires have been bludgeoning each other for hundreds of years, making them both tired and weak, and making them tired. This made them tired and weak, and also made Islam's job of spreading much easier because it could now find opportunity in this weakness. Also, you had a tribal. You also had a tribal/clan-based Bedouin merchant society, which would help spread Islam. So Muhammad ibn Abdullah, the final, the prophet of Islam, the final prophet of Islam, and the final prophet of Allah in Islam, was born as the orphan son of a respectable merchant family. He was raised by his uncle and grandfather, and worked for and then married a wealthy widow named Khadijah. Around age 40, he received visions from the archangel Gabriel in a role reflecting in a cave. Gabriel commanded Muhammad to recite or proclaim the message of Allah, which Gabriel carried to the world. This included the idea of monotheism, that Allah, or God in Arabic, is the only true God. Khadijah and her Christian cousins support his vision, encourage him to spread his message, and Muhammad begins attracting followers in Islam. Now, not everyone likes this, as his monotheistic teachings were offensive to polytheistic pagans. Additionally, the ruling elites and the wealthy merchants were also offended when Muhammad denounced greed. It doesn't help by the fact that Muhammad's preaching of monotheism basically negates the religious importance of pagan idols in Arabia that attract pilgrims, and that these pilgrims are often a major source of income for the local economy. For example, the Kaaba, which, funny enough, will become a major fixture in Islam later on. So as a result, now due to his the hostility and seeing an opportunity to settle disputes in Medina, he flees to that city in around 622 CE, which is basically roughly 200 miles north. This is the starting point of the official lunar Islamic calendar, and if you want to know what year we are in 1438 after the Hijrah. He organizes followers into a communal society called the Ummah, and he provided, and as well as the fact that he also provided legal and the spiritual code, and also formed a totalizing meta narrative. In order to sustain the Ummah, he attacked Meccan caravans. Muhammad starts referring to himself as the final prophet. Due to the fact that he grew up in a society where Christianity and Judaism were pretty strong, he accepted the authority of Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, and he actually held Hebrew scriptures and the Christian New Testament in high esteem. However, he believed that these scriptures had been corrupted and mistranslated, and that only he, Muhammad, had been entrusted with a more complete revelation, one that communicated Allah's true plans for the world. The Muslims conquer and convert Mecca around 630. They also destroy 360 pagan idols and only leave the Kaaba and its black stone preserved. However, they also rid the Kaaba of any pagan symbols and icons and whatnot. This is endorsed as a pilgrimage site by Muhammad's Hajj in 632, shortly before his death. And so this is a closer picture, a very old picture of the Kaaba. This is a very, now as you can see, it's actually a very large structure. So Muhammad served as a spiritual leader, political leader, a military leader, and as a lifestyle exemplar. He is always portrayed as wise, brave, true, and just and magnanimous. However, Muslims always emphasize that he is a man, unlike Christians who say unlike later Christians who said Jesus is both divine and mortal. Muhammad is only viewed as a mortal man. So the Quran, or the which means recitation in Arabic, which is basically the super holy book of Islam. It is a record of 22 years of revelations received during Muhammad's visions from Gabriel. It is the definitive authority for Islamic religious doctrine and social organization. It is analogous to what Jesus means to Christians, as unlike the Bible, it was really just recorded. It was actually recorded from what, like as in Christianity, the Bible was actually written down not from Jesus' perspective, it's written down from what Jesus said, whereas with the Quran, it was really created by Muhammad. Sorry, I just had that confirms. There's a little interruption to deal with. Sorry about that. It was committed to correction. It was not actually written. It was dictated by Muhammad. However, it wasn't really written down by Muhammad because he actually died in 632 and was written down in 650 CE. It is 77,000 words and much shorter than the New Testament. And it's 114 chapters or surah, or are arranged by longest to shortest. The Sunnah. Additionally, you have the Sunnah as an authority of Islam, which consists of the words of the Prophet, the Hadith, and his actions. However, Muslims like to be careful about because these aren't really official. These aren't official orthodoxy. They try to be careful and somewhat scientific about what he actually, in determining what he actually said and what he probably didn't. They basically, aka just evaluate the validity of a source. The 5 pillars or rituals of Islam are: you must profess no God but Allah and acknowledge that Muhammad is his final prophet. You must also say Muhammad is his prophet. You must conduct daily prayer facing Mecca, originally toward Jerusalem. You must fast during the lunar month of Ramadan, donate a portion of your salary to charity, and if you are physically and financially able to, commit to a pilgrimage to Mecca or a Hajj. Once you're there, you must circumambulate 7 times counterclockwise around the Kaaba. There's another component of Islam called Jihad. Now, when most people think of, which translates to struggle. When most people think of Jihad, they think of extremist terrorism, but it's a lot more than that. There are two. Some Muslims have taken Jihad as an additional obligation for their faith. There are 2 types: higher Jihad, in which it encompasses the internal struggle to be a good Muslim, and of course lower Jihad, the holy war, the one we think of when we hear the word Jihad, which is basically you wage a religious war against unbelievers who threaten Islam. Islam believed that as beforehand, you must submit to the only one God who will set you free. There's a strong focus on heaven and hell. and a very strong social justice component. Basically, just don't be a jerk. Moreover, leaving Islam is punishable by death. And so this is a picture depicting Muslims praying towards Mecca. As you can see, Islam is a very influential religion, as just the sheer number of people involved in such a practice is nothing short of astonishing. The Islamic Holy Law or Sharia is a detailed guidance on proper behavior in almost every aspect of life. It is based on the Quran, Hadith, and logical schools of analysis. And it also extends beyond ritual to all areas of human activity, such as marriage and family life, inheritance, slavery, business and commercial relationships, and crime. So basically, why did Islam catch on in Medina? Well, basically, Mohammed was just this ideal person. He's kind of like a role model. Monotheism certainly already existed because Christianity and Judaism and Zoroastrianism, and Islam offered a higher magic than paganism, as evident by the military victory in the Muslim 300. The Arabs were also craving a way to unite themselves. So this is like a map of the expansion of Islam from 632 to 733 CE. As we can see, originally starts off pretty, actually not really small, but pretty big, and then rapidly expands out from there. And then, making it all the way to Turkey, to Spain before the Battle of Tours, and also makes its way into Central Asia and Iran. With the expansion of Islam is attributed to the fact that the tribes could actually be unified. There's also religious zeal, weakened adversaries, and also there was plenty of war booty involved. After Muhammad dies unexpectedly, there's really no clear successor. The community chose four people as caliphs or deputies: Abu Bakr, Omar, Uthman, and Ali. Disagreements, however, over the selection of caliphs led to a major split. The fourth caliph, now the Shia and Sunni split, arises from a question of succession, as mentioned before. The fourth caliph was Ali, Muhammad's cousin and son-in-law. He was, however, unfortunately murdered. A rival leader claimed the office of caliph and set the Umayyad Dynasty. Ali's son challenged this act and was murdered as a result. Followers of Ali, the Shiites, broke away, believing that only descendants of Ali could become caliph, while the majority of Muslims chose to be Sunni, who believed that any devout Muslim could become caliph. So the Umayyad Dynasty, lasting from 661 to 750 CE, brought stability to the Islamic community by solving the problem of succession. It set up its capital in Damascus, Syria. However, its favoritism of Arab military rulers caused discontent. There was also very limited social mobility for non-Arab Muslims. A head tax or jizya was imposed on non-Muslims, and a luxurious living causes further decline and resentment towards their moral authority. The Abbasid Dynasty, which ruled from 750 to 1258 CE, was, and yeah, that's a long time as you can imagine, was absolutely ruthless in gaining power. However, once in power, they were mostly content. They were actually decided to incorporate a diverse nature of administration, i.e., not exclusively Arab. And they weren't really bent on imperial expansion, mostly focusing on administering the empire. However, they weren't pushovers at the fact that they beat the Chinese at the Talas River in 751. This is a major victory because if the Chinese had won, they could have basically gone into Central Asia and moved on, and history would have been so different from there. The cosmopolitan administration was influenced by Persian statecraft. They converted Baghdad into a magnificent capital, and the religious scholars known as the ulama and judges, qadis, reinforced Islamic values. They were theologians and jurists, but they weren't actually priests. That's a key difference. Islam really doesn't have as clergy, but they don't really have priests. As a result, basically the golden age of Islam peaking under Al-Rashid. However, like every empire, this empire will also die. Civil war and succession crisis weaken Abbasid authority, and as provincial governors start asserting regional independence, uprisings and peasant rebellions rock the dynasty's stability. And by 950, caliphs become puppets of the Persian nobility, and then by 1250, puppets of the Seljuk Turks. The Abbasid dynasty finally comes to an end when the Mongols sack Baghdad in 1258. In terms of economics, now let's talk about economics. With Dar al-Islam, basically, the House of Islam arising, you had a mini Columbian exchange from India to the west. New food crops such as sugarcane, rice, eggplants, oranges, bananas, coconuts, watermelons, etc. were now trading along these routes, as well as new industrial crops like cotton, indigo, and henna. These dramatically increased the growing season, and thus the food supplies rose. It also improved fertilization of crop. Also, you had improved fertilization and crop rotation. This Islamic Agricultural Revolution fueled the growth of cities such as Delhi, Samarkand, Bukhara, Isfahan, Cairo, Polermo, Cordoba, and Toledo. Textiles, pottery, glassware, leather, and iron and steel were also grew in prominence. And the Battle of the Talas River brought paper-making skills to the world of Islam. As a result, you had flourishing literature. Now, the formation of a hemispheric trading zone didn't come out of nowhere. There was already historical precedent of Arab traders. However, this trading zone would become more important with the fact that the House of Islam revived silk routes. You can think of it almost as a Pax Islamica, with camel caravans and maritime trade simulated by Chinese compasses, Malaysian Latin sail, and Hellenistic astrolabes, assisting in the transfer of goods and ideas. Trade causes banks to develop, with brokers for investment and exchange, and with brokers for investment and exchanges for different currencies. You also had the issue of sak, or checks, aka letters of credit. And the University of Islamic Law helps promote trade. Joint ventures become common, so that you don't, one person doesn't lose all the money if his business fails. And this opened up trade south to Sahara, Swahili coast, and to Russia and Scandinavia. So these guys made it pretty far. Now, despite the stereotype that Islam is absolutely oppressive towards women, yes, it is conservative towards women, but it's not, it's kind of stereotyped as, negative. The Quran actually improved the status of Arab women. It outlawed female infanticide, brides and not the husbands could actually claim dowries. Yet, of course, male dominance preserved. The land of descent was along the male. Sorry for the spelling error. Polygamy was permitted. However, polyandry was forbidden. The veil was adopted from ancient Mesopotamian practices to avoid contact between married women and other men. Over the centuries, legal scholars interpreted the Quran in ways that progressively limited women's rights. So, yeah, not that fun. You also get the formation and all this, the formation of Islamic cultural tradition. Theologians and jurists use Sharia law to formulate moral guidelines, and this basically they also establish endowments by the rich, established schools, that's madrasas, which would spread Islamic values. The Abbasids help support those who are taking the Hajj, and Sufi missionaries help spread popular Islam. Sufi Islam focuses primarily on asceticism, mysticism, experientialism versus doctrinal focus. Due to the dances involved, it is often associated with whirling dervishes. However, there is some tension with Orthodox Islamic theologians. Now, Persia influences Islam with its administration and governance techniques, as well as literature, for example, the Arabian Nights. India influences Islam with mathematics, science, and medicine, and Hindi numerals. Greece influences Islam by instilling some rational philosophy, especially Plato and Aristotle for a time. Islamic synthesis is influential throughout Afro-Eurasia, for example, algebra, and this had a huge impact on Christian scholasticism and later the Renaissance. And thanks for watching.